of where I live. So that was 1 minute 3 seconds for George Ed Geller. Who've we got next, Helen?
Next we have Leighton Roff.
Leighton Roff. Good evening. That was a good start. Shall I go? That was so awkward. Hello, thank you. So I'm Leighton. I'm an autistic comedian, but I prefer to call myself an autiste. Life's quite hard for me because I don't have a filter, so I have to drink straight out of the tap. I was invited to a party recently that surprised me myself. At this party there was a dickhead, and this dickhead said to me, "I don't think autism is a real disability." And I said, "Oh, don't you mean disability?" He said, "No, I mean disability." I was like, "No, you mean disability. And if you can't spell, then you shouldn't have an opinion." And he said that's ignorant because I'm dyslexic. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm not ignorant. I do believe that dyslexia is a real disability. And he said, "Now you're just taking the piss." So I was like, all right, man. And I handled it well in the end. I handled it well when I squeezed his nipples. But I realised, after that, I felt like I took it too far. I'll go as far as saying I felt like a right tit, because that was the one that I squeezed first. So I got into an awkward situation recently. I get into those quite a lot. I was at a gig recently, and there was sort of a heavily autistic audience member sitting in the front row, and he was making it hard for me, but I didn't want to pick on my fellow virgin. Sorry, I mean autistic. And he kept sort of. It's really difficult because he kept sort of finishing all of my lines. He kept finishing all of my lines. I admit I shouldn't have left my cocaine on the table, but so as well as being autistic, I'm also Jewish. That's not the joke. Thank you. Good. So I'm Jewish and I'm autistic. That makes me Jewtistic, and I tried to do the whole Jewish thing. I took part in a competition recently called Jews Got Talent, which is a bit like Britain's Got Talent, except my dad's friend was on the panel, he was a nice guy. I'll go as far as saying he was a diamond geezer because he used to work in the diamond trade. But there was one joke that he made that I made that he didn't like, where I said so being autistic I don't like change, but being Jewish I love loose change. I didn't get through that competition, but I've always struggled sort of making friends. But I did have one friend sort of growing up, and I used to bring him into the house. My mum used to shout at me and say, "Leighton, stop bringing the old man into the house." And I said, "Mum, chill, Dad lives here too." But I did have one 10-year-old friend when I was 10, not now, that would be creepy. And I brought him into my room, and he played with my Power Rangers. That sounds like some weird sexual harassment story coming up, but that was a bit too far. My friend David, he picked sort of the pink Power Ranger out my drawer. I had a pink Power Ranger because I'm a beta male. I've learnt to deal with it. And then he picked the pink Power Ranger and he threw it at the wall, and then the blue Power Ranger and he threw it at the wall, and then the green one at the wall, and then the yellow one. I was like, "That's enough, David, that's my favourite Power Ranger." And then he threw it straight in my mouth, knocked my teeth out, blood everywhere, comedy. And so the next day he comes around my house and he says, "Leighton, I'm so sorry." He comes around with a packet of Mars bars and a packet of Tic Tacs. I'm like, "Take it, all right, goodbye." He's like, "Aren't you going to say thank you?" I was like, "Oh, thank you so much, David. I'm going to chew on those Tic Tacs with the teeth you didn't knock out of my mouth." So I've always struggled with jobs. I used to sort of work So I think, like, no, I don't. I'm not going for sympathy. I promise. But I used to work as a KP, but people didn't know what that was. So people just assumed that I worked for KP Nuts, but I didn't work for Oh, okay.
One card. And that is Leighton Roff with the full 5 minutes.
Leighton Roff, ladies and gentlemen, get up for Leighton Roff.